And so we find ourselves on this glorious, gray, dismal, rainy, cold day in mid-May. We find ourselves at Mother's Day. And while I may not be a mother, God knows I have been. We have all been surrounded by mothers. My wife, the mother of our children, was just up here reading. My daughter is now the mother to our granddaughter, who we have the joy of looking after. My own mother has been gone these past 11 years, but in all honesty, lives on, singing off-key those Episcopal hymns she so loved in my ears. My grandmothers, my step-grandmother Elizabeth, who alone in my family heard the news that I had dropped out of engineering school to pursue a degree in philosophy, nodded her head and said, "Of course, what took you so long?" My honorary grandmother, my step-grandmother's best friend, who in her 90s and on her deathbed handed me a copy of Sacred Hunger by Barry Unsworth and told me that I must read this before I die. And I did. These were my children's honorary mothers and aunts. These were my honorary mothers and aunts. The list goes on and has, to be honest, no end in sight. Did Julia Ward Howe have any idea what she was opening up? If I give credence to the Vajrayana, my Tibetan brethren, each person we meet has been a mother in some prior, has been our mother in some prior life, just as we have, each one of us, each one of you, been one another's mothers. Buddhism has no truck with gender norms. That great bodhisattva of compassion begins as male in India and fits comfortably into a female role in East Asia. Mothers have no monopoly on compassion. I appreciate the Buddhist ease with inconceivably vast stretches of time, with the infinitude of the universe. Each of you has been my mother, just as I have been each of yours. In past lives, each of us has been a mother robin, bringing worms to her chicks, which in turn have been each one of us. Each of us, a mother fish, frog, snake, fox, or squirrel. We've all been there, all mothers and all young. As we can all take comfort in having mothered Mozart and Emily Dickinson in some past life, we can also acknowledge the dark side in realizing that Joseph Stalin and Donald Trump have, in the vastness of time, been our own mothers. And so today is a celebration, or a commemoration, rather, of each of us in our roles, our incarnations of mothers, good, bad, and indifferent. But let's pause before we get lost in the abstract, the universal, and consider mothers in the particular, in the specific. In a tradition so unlike the one in which Mary, Mother of God, was told her impending motherhood by the Archangel Gabriel, Maya, the young wife of Suravana, king of the Shakyas in the land of Kosala, in what we now call the border of northern India and to Nepal, had a dream. She dreamt that a white elephant had entered her side. Taking the dream to a seer and interpreter of dreams, she was told that she would bear a son who would become either a great ruler or a spiritual healer. Her husband, the king, wanted more than anything to have his son, Siddhartha, for that would be his name, to grow in political power, to rule as he was born to. The alternative, that he would become a spiritual leader to the world, was not so palatable. Maya, Siddhartha's mother, lived about a week after his birth dying as a result of childbirth, and Siddhartha was raised by his aunt, Mahaprajnapati, the woman who stands at the head of the list of female ancestors in my own Buddhist lineage. Mahaprajnapati became the first Buddhist nun and stands not just as the de facto mother of the man whom we know as the Buddha, but as one of the mothers of us all. Now, Buddhism, like so many other religions, has its own past and present misogyny, and it took time for both the Buddha and his followers to accept the presence of women. For this, we can be grateful to Mahaprajnapati. I have her and her descendants, mortal and, well, immortal, to thank for my continued practice. One more celebration of Mother's Day, if not one that Julia Ward Howe would countenance. Or maybe she would. But let's step out of this, the world of historicity, and into the mystical as it plays out today, as it continues to play out in these worlds outside the mundane. Early in a January morning several years ago, before the sun would rise over the surrounding mountains, at Green Gulch Farm in Marin County, California, my fellow Zen practitioners and I, at the Green Dragon Temple, an outpost of the San Francisco Zen Center, would celebrate the new day with a morning liturgy service. One of the chants that we used was the hymn to the perfection of wisdom, Prajna Paramita, the mother of all Buddhas. It doesn't appear in the Soto school scriptures for daily services and practice, and I don't find it in my own Empty Moon liturgy book. So I don't expect that it has risen to most people's consciousness. Yet there it is, poking at my godlessness, singing the praise of a Mahayana goddess, the goddess of wisdom, the mother of all Buddhas, and it goes, homage to the perfection of wisdom, the lovely, the holy. The perfection of wisdom gives light, unstained. The entire world cannot stain her. She is a source of light, and from everyone in the triple world she removes darkness. Most excellent are her works. She brings light so that all fear and distress may be forsaken, and dispels the gloom and darkness of delusion. She herself is an organ of vision. She has a clear knowledge of her own being, of all dharmas, for she does not stray away from it. The perfection of wisdom of the Buddhas sets in motion the wheel of the Dharma. Now, wisdom. There's a goddess, a mother I can get behind, not far removed from God as nature, the God of Spinoza, but more a goddess who opens your eyes, a mother to hold our hands, to teach, to inspire us. Would that she had been around in these mundane times to guide and heal us. And isn't that what we celebrate today? A mother, real, fictional, ideal, a mother to hold and inspire us, to stand by us when we need her most. Many things have drawn me to a Buddhist practice. Certainly one is open to this combination of all beliefs, to embracing the various religious practices it finds as it moved from India to East Asia and across the Pacific. And there on the Pacific coast is one of those instances. East Ocean Boulevard in Long Beach, California, is an odd location to find one of those harbingers of the future paths of Western religion, or a nod to Mother's Day. There, with a view of the Pacific Ocean one might pay a fortune for, is a Vietnamese Buddhist monastery, housed in the buildings and grounds the monks had purchased from Catholic nuns whose convent had fallen into bankruptcy. Those monks have maintained the numerous statues of Maria Stella Maris, Mary, Star of the Sea, and together with local Catholic pilgrims who gather before the statues each morning, offer incense to what they, the monks, see as the incarnation of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion. Buddhism, as it has moved from Asia, has incorporated, absorbed the various gods and goddesses of their new home. And so there on the coast of the New World, Mary, Mother of God, is seen as the newest form of the Bodhisattva of compassion, the very image of the Pieta, Mary on the half-shell, Kuan Yin, the Chinese goddess and Bodhisattva, pledged like a mother to save us all. The Indian Avalokiteshvara, male in India, female as she makes it across the Himalayas, mother of all, female, male. Motherhood reaches out, embraces, asks no questions, and is heedless of the form it takes. Now, I'm not sure how my own mother would take being considered in the company of so many Buddhist luminaries. She was raised a devout Episcopalian, despite having deep New England Unitarian roots going back through the 19th century. And before that, into the Congregationalists and Puritans in the early days of the Plymouth colony in Boston. But her religious life came from her father, my grandfather, who was ordained a priest in the Episcopal Church as soon as he retired from a career as a mechanical engineer. And my mother, for my mother, the church was the air she breathed. Its hymns, though only in the 1940 Episcopal hymn book, the music she carried with her throughout the day. Hymns she would sing off-key in a voice rendered hoarse by a smoking habit going back to her freshman year at Hood College. Hymns she sang as she cooked, cleaned, drove to work, and probably as she visited her social work clients. Hymns that certainly drove me nuts. Hymns I will carry with me to the grave. I've no doubt she would roll her eyes at the changes that were made to make them palatable to Unitarian ears. She was great at rolling her eyes, and in this, I confess, I agree with her wholeheartedly. Following in her leads, I became an altar boy and eventually head acolyte at our church outside Atlanta, Georgia, a church named after St. Bede. The historians among you will understand the significance of that name, of the name of that worthy church historian, and the Anglophiles among you will perhaps appreciate the way my mother referred to it, St. Bede's in the weeds. She did it lovingly. I took to it with my quietly growing unease with Christianity. I'd like to say that as time moved on, that seed of atheism that grew within me did not immediately find a voice, because I didn't want to hurt her, but in truth, it was cowardice. One afternoon, I got off the school bus, walked through the front door, and went to my room, only to find that Mom, in the process of cleaning my room, as she could never be dissuaded from doing, had found under my bed not my stash of Playboys that I had cleverly hidden away, where even she would not suspect, even though my brother found them almost instantly, but rather my dog-eared copy of Bertrand Russell's Why I Am Not a Christian. I suppose this means you don't want to go to church anymore, she asked, as she held the book out to me. St. Bede's head acolyte that I was. No, I admitted sheepishly. I know how much that cut her to the quick, and I know how deeply she loved and respected me when she said, "All right." She never raised the issue again. She simply took me for what I was, her son. And when, years later, I was ordained as a Zen Buddhist priest, she was there. Perhaps not quite understanding intellectually, God knows. I did not understand intellectually, but understanding in her heart. Friends had assured her that no matter what else Buddhists might say or do, they were at least deeply moral. I appreciate the thought, even though I find it to rest on questionable grounds. Truth is often more complex than we might wish. But what else could one want from a mother? Today, we honor motherhood, the mother of Buddhas, the mother of the one Buddha, the mothers of us all, my mother, your mother, saints, demons, the halt and the lame, the broken and the whole, each of them our mother, each of us each other's mother, each of them what we would wish for, and each of them what we have got. In my backyard, the birds have swarmed in, filling the trees and the bird feeders, sucking up the energy they'll need to lay eggs, to brood those eggs, to feed those insatiable chicks, and pass on the miracle of flight to the generations to come. This is that day to celebrate, to hold close, to remember. This is a day to sing with the Buddha from the Metta Sutta, his loving kindness sutta. Each as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. Amen. And would you all stand?